Hi, everybody. Hi. Thank you for coming. We have a little preview of sorts before we get rolling with the press conference. I'm going to invite for a minute or two our two state senators here from the Cape and Islands, leading off with our Cape and Islands Senator Julian Cyr.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. Finally a sunny day, right? The weather is looking more like January, early February than it's been. I'm Julian Cyr, I think as folks know. I represent the Cape and Islands District. I'm proud to be joined today by State Senator Sue Moran, State Representative Steve Exaros, a whole host of folks in law enforcement, and our District Attorney, Rob Galibois, to talk about the essential work that the District Attorney's Office has been able to conduct. And gosh, what a difference a DA makes. We're now, Rob, what? We're on month 13 of his administration, of this new administration. And something that this legislative delegation was really committed to was making sure that we worked in partnership with Rob and all of the people serving in the District Attorney's Office to really make sure that Cape Cod and the islands had a modern District Attorney's Office that was not sort of living in the vestiges of the past, but really working on crucial issues, on issues of public safety, and also on issues that often I think can go unseen on Cape Cod. And here on Cape Cod and on the islands, we do have a problem with human trafficking. We do have people who are exploited. And so having a district attorney and Rob and his entire team who've really been able to look at this, and one of the things that Sue and I can talk about that we're very proud of, we worked swiftly in this new administration to bring in additional monies to the District Attorney's Office for the Cape and Islands. First, $200,000 in the supplemental budget last spring, or late winter, early spring, and then an additional expansion of resources that have been able to be partnered with several grants that we lobbied for the DA to receive that are able to do work on human trafficking, able to enhance our public safety. So all this is really essential. I wanted to be sure to come down today, and Sue, come on up. I'm going to introduce Senator Sue Moran in a moment, who's been my partner in this. But really, it's really important that Cape Codders and Islanders remember and realize that we have trafficked individuals in our communities, that we need to be vigilant for people who are exploited, and we really should thank DA Galibois and his entire team for making not only today happen, but really investing in these efforts. I'm going to turn this over to my partner in the Senate, State Senator Sue Moran.
Thank you, Senator Cyr. I'm so proud to be here to congratulate and applaud everyone in this room who are supporting just facing this issue and taking it on in dealing with it the way that DA Rob Galibois has done so bravely and so publicly through reaching out, relationships, asking the community, and I look forward to much more of that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senators. We're now going to turn to the program. I'd like to introduce at this time Danielle Whitney. Danielle Whitney is the Director of Community Services or Community Programs for the District Attorney's Office for the Cape and Islands. She's going to act as our MC for the afternoon. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, law enforcement members, elected officials, community agencies, and members of the press, thank you for being here as we gather to announce significant developments in our commitment to building a safe and healthy community. Today marks a pivotal moment as we unveil recipients of two separate grants that have been awarded to the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office by the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security's Office of Grants and Research. These grants are aimed at fostering the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office goal of eradicating human trafficking and combating the opiate crisis here on Cape Cod. Your support and attention to these incentives are crucial, and we are eager to share the impactful strides we are making. Without further delay, let's delve into the exciting grant announcements. One of the grants is Commonwealth Project Safe Neighborhood Initiative in the amount of $98,998.11. Those award recipients are the Yarmouth Police Department, Falmouth Police Department, the State Police Detective Unit assigned to the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office, and Behavioral Health Innovators. The other grant is a human trafficking enforcement and training grant in the amount of $97,051. Human trafficking is happening here, however, is underreported due to lack of training and awareness. The Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office has prosecuted 58 human trafficking cases over the last 3 years, with a 31% increase in cases between 2022 and 2023. A community-based agency that provides services to women here on the Cape informed us that in 2023, 39 women disclosed that they have been trafficked here in Barnstable County. The Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office conducted an informal needs assessment survey with various community agencies that serve members of this community. In that assessment, 57% of the agencies that responded to that survey reported that their agency works with clients, patients, and individuals that have been or are currently engaging in commercial sex work. Importantly, 100% of those responses reported that they feel their agency is working with individuals that are unidentified or do not identify themselves as being a victim or a survivor of commercial sex trafficking. These grant funds would support education and training for local law enforcement, first responders, community service agencies, and the hospitality industry in recognizing indicators of trafficking and best practices for responding. Training opportunities and available resources are traditionally lacking in rural, non-metropolitan regions. Receiving these grant funds will permit local police departments to receive equitable access to appropriate training and best practices that would bridge the gap between state and federal legal agencies. The funds awarded will accommodate efforts in raising community awareness, investigating, prosecuting human trafficking violations, and supporting survivors. The funds will support and increase preventative measures, investigate capabilities, and supportive services. Funds will go towards trauma-informed trainings for our staff members, our multidisciplinary partners, including law enforcement and community agency, as well as healthcare workers and hospitality industry, to facilitate community-wide awareness. Funds will create and increase services and resources for survivors here on Cape Cod. Funds will also obtain equipment to augment investigative capabilities. Currently, there are no local resources specifically designed for survivors of human trafficking on the Cape. With that being said, we are delighted to be able to partner with two extraordinary agencies to provide those lacking resources for survivors of human trafficking here on Cape Cod. My Life, My Choice and the Independence House, both agencies will allow services for survivors of all ages to get the support and resources that are crucial to them. In addition to My Life and My Choice, Independence House will also we'd like to recognize the organization of PATH. As part of the grant funds, PATH will provide care bags to every police department on the Cape. Care bags are bags that are filled with essentials that a person who needs to leave a trafficking situation would require. My Life, My Choice, and Independence House are here today to say a few words about those services and what they will entail for those survivors. I'd like to turn it over to DA Galibois.
Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. I do want to acknowledge some people in the room, and if I do forget you, my apologies. But again, Senators Sear and Moran, thank you so much for coming this afternoon. Representative Zaros is present and has been very helpful in our efforts as well. Thank you very much for showing up today. I saw Town Councilman Mr. Levesque right there, over here in the corner. And we have, of course, members of law enforcement in the back of the room. I see Chief McDonald, Chief Lennon, Deputy Chief O'Malley, members of the Barnstable Sheriff's Department, and I see officers in the back that, back in the day, gentlemen, I could tell what uniform you were wearing, but my eyes have begun to fail me a little bit, so thank you very much for coming. And, of course, we have Detective Parachi here from the Barnstable Police Department, who I'll be speaking about in a few minutes. We also have several stakeholders from the community that I want to thank for coming, members of the Independence House, My Life, My Choice, of course, Cape Cod Commission, Executive Director Christy Senatori, thank you so much for coming, and everyone else, I really appreciate your time. So as you just learned, the grant that we received for Project Safe Neighborhoods, $98,000 and change, will be able to provide equipment and training for various departments that was just mentioned, the Yarmouth Police Department, the Falmouth Police Department, and the State Police Detective is assigned to my office. I will also provide funds for Behavioral Health Innovators, who's a great stakeholder in our community and present at this particular conference this afternoon. So we're very excited to be able to provide those opportunities to those agencies. When I arrived in January, or when I was sworn in January of 2023, within the first couple weeks, I had an opportunity to go to an event at Great Awakenings, a coffee shop over in the Hyannis area. And it was put together by Cape Cod PATH, or People Against Trafficking Humans. Many of you know Lois and Janice, who are in attendance here today. And they brought in this survivor who gave a great presentation. When I walked in the room, probably had about 25 people there on that very cold January night. And of course, I was struck by a very large gentleman dashing in a uniform, Chief Scott McDonald, who is here today, and Exhibit A, Chief Scott McDonald being dashing in the uniform. It's my first time really meeting him. I didn't really have a chance to meet him in my 28-year career at that particular point. So having seen him and having followed up in some conversations with him and learning how he was the driving force with local law enforcement agencies to try to get a representative from each of the police departments across the Cape and expanding to the islands to dedicate a police officer to this need to combat human trafficking. I then shortly learned that he was working with federal officials and working with the federal task force to bring more attention to the area. And that was nothing short of inspiring. It was you, sir, that put me on this particular path that brings us into this conference room today, and I want to say thank you for that. So shortly after getting to know Chief McDonald, we assembled our own human trafficking task force within the office and put together our own stakeholders, if you will. And that included representatives from Health Imperatives, the Independence House, the tribe, the Wampanoag tribe, Treasured Life, Barnstable Police, and then certainly including Detective Parachi, who I just highlighted. And I just want to take a moment to speak about Detective Parachi, not to embarrass her at all, but she is a member of the Barnstable Police Department and has been working human trafficking cases for a number of years now. However, she's so skillful in her position. Area departments, not only across the Cape, but well over the bridges, look to her to lead their investigations. The Homeland Security, a federal agency, looks to her to lead their investigations. So we are blessed to have her as part of our in-house human trafficking team, if you will, and I am very grateful for your attendance here today and all the effort that you have shown. Thank you very much, Dick. Of course, Chief McDonald, on behalf of Orleans PD, Cape Cod Path, Janice and Lois, thank you so much. Children's Cove would send a representative to these particular meetings, as well as DCF. So after assembling these meetings, I think we've had now 4 or 5 since May of last year, that caused further inspiration. And as Senator Sear just mentioned and Senator Moran, we started putting together some efforts and joined by Representative Exaros to raise funds to try to take that extra step in our efforts to combat human trafficking. And thanks to those members of our Cape delegation and others, we were successful. We got some extra funding. So what did we do? Vanessa Madge was part of the Human Trafficking Unit for the Attorney General's Office, working as a prosecutor. She had worked there for multiple years, conducted investigations and prosecutions all across the state. So we approached her, and we tried to convince her to leave the bright lights of the cities across the state to come down here to the Cape and begin our own Human Trafficking Unit. Vanessa, we're so grateful that you joined us. She's in attendance here today. Vanessa Madge is now the chief of our Human Trafficking and Child Protection Unit. So when Vanessa joined us, she connected with Danielle Whitney, who you just heard from, and they began working on that grant from EOPS, or Executive Office of Public Safety. The ceiling of that grant was $100,000. We didn't want to be greedy. We came in for a request for $97,051. And they were successful in those efforts. And now that we've gotten this grant, which I understand is the first human trafficking grant given to the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office. Now that we've secured that grant, as was indicated earlier by Danielle, we have the opportunity to work with My Life and My Choice. They have a representative here today that's going to be able to explain what these funds are going to be able to provide for their efforts down here in the Cape and the Islands. We have an opportunity to provide funding to the Independence House. They too will share. Thank you for joining us, Lisetta. I just saw that you arrived. Thank you so much. Our Executive Director, Lisetta Hurd-Putnam from Independence House. She'll be able to describe what those funds will be able to do for her agency. We're able to provide funding for and equipment for Barnstable Police Department, and we, of course, will have some money to provide some training experiences for our own prosecutors and victim witness staff. So it's a very exciting time with this money. It's not over. While we're certainly happy to receive these funds, we know there are further opportunities available for us in federal grants through the Department of Justice. We will be seeking additional funding so we can promote awareness regarding human trafficking. We can help our law enforcement partners build the investigations that they need to build to bring the cases, that we can try to work with survivors, and of course, prosecute the offenders. So again, thank you so much for coming this afternoon. We do have a couple more speakers for your attention. Thank you.
Audrey Morris, do you want to come on up? She is our representative here from My Life, My Choice.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is so exciting. I remember My Life, My Choice, we've been around for 22 years, and I remember many years ago bringing awareness and being invited to come to the Cape. And at that time, people really didn't believe that trafficking existed on Cape Cod. But trafficking is an issue, across Massachusetts, across the United States. I know a lot of people, when they hear the term, matter of fact, last week I was doing a training, and someone asked, "What are you doing in that room?" And I said, "Well, we're doing a training on human trafficking." And they said, "Doesn't that happen in foreign countries?" And I was in Randolph, Massachusetts. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying to myself, oh my God. But the truth of the matter is, people really do not believe that this is a real issue. And at My Life, My Choice, again, we've been around for 22 years. We have a prevention curriculum. We'll be more than happy to come out on the Cape and train providers on how to run those prevention groups with adolescent youth. I need to say that we have been serving your youth here all along, but now with this funding, we are able to serve more young people. And at My Life, My Choice, we take referrals under the age of 18. Our young people are paired with a survivor, an adult who is a survivor of the commercial sex industry, which is one of the most powerful relationships a young person can have. I know when I'm the first survivor in Massachusetts to mentor this population of young people. And I'll tell you, when I go and meet young people, when I did in my younger years, I'm too old to chase young people now. Even coming here, I was like, oh, my back hurts. This is a long ride. But when I did, when I was able to share with a young person my experience and that the same thing had happened to me as a young person, I watched their body language change. I watched the arms become uncrossed, right? A lot of young people who people might have just suspected were being trafficked, but they made the referral. Once the young person met a survivor, they were able to say, yeah, this did happen to me. And so we're so excited to be a part of this. We're also, one of the other things I want to give folks a shout out around supporting our Sex Trade Survivors Act here in Massachusetts. So I want to thank our senators and our DAs for signing on, because what our bill is doing is, if we pass this bill, we will no longer arrest adult survivors or children. We will not be arresting the victims of a crime, but we'll be holding the buyers and the exploiters accountable. And we want to clear records. I know a lot of you work with adult women. It's hard to move forward in life if you go for housing or you go to get a job and prostitution charges show up on your record, right? And so with this bill, we want to clear those records. We want to provide more services. And we don't care if you've been trafficked or you are an adult who says, I'm doing this because I'm a sex worker. These services will be for all survivors. I know for myself, I wish I had an organization to teach me how to live again, because I didn't have a clue. Thank God I belonged, to another 12-step program. I always say thank God for narcotics, because if it wasn't for narcotics, I would be in a state institution. And I know that, right? And so that was my path out. And so with this money and with your knowledge and your allyship. I want to acknowledge allyship. It takes allies, right, to tell the truth about this matter, to let other people know that this is real. I know if it wasn't for Lisa Goldblatt Grace, I know people used to ask her, do you pay her? And I'm like, why do people think like I don't have to pay bills? I don't know what that's all about. I mean, I kind of wish you all gave me a house and paid all my bills. That would be fine. But I have the same bills as anyone else, right? And so the woman that I've become with this money, we want to be able to help other young people, walk alongside them, so that they one day will have the privilege of carrying on this work, right, and being able to help reach their hand out and help another survivor get out of the life. And so again, we've been here on the Cape. Before I leave, whoever is in charge of training, I know some of the grant funding is for training. Please connect with me so I can give you my card so that we can begin this work on a deeper level ASAP, because it is work that is needed. And we want to serve your young people. And when they turn 18, we don't say you're 18, so we can't serve you anymore. As long as they need the service, they will get the service. And we have some awesome survivor mentors who are excited to work with more of your young people. I've been in meetings where we also want to provide other services that we're able to provide to our young people that are closer to us. And we want to be able to provide those services like Leadership Corps, and be able to expose your young people to the same things beyond mentorship that our young people receive that are closer to us. So I just want to thank you all for including My Life, My Choice in this very, very important work. I really want to give law enforcement a shout out. It takes a clear understanding for law enforcement because I know people in the life, like, they don't trust law enforcement. That's like the first order of business. But when they meet someone who gets it, they let their guards down. So I just want to thank you all and just congratulate you on the grants and the fabulous work and your allyship. That means so much more to me. And that some folks changed their mind, I won't name names, and signed on to the bill, and I'm just so grateful for that. And I just, I'm happy to continue to work with you. And if there's anything we can do beyond what this grant will have us do, please reach out. We'll be more than happy. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
We have the Executive Director of Independence House, Lisetta Hurd-Putnam, if you'd like to come on up.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So excited to be here, and I want to start out by congratulating the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office for getting this grant for us here on the Cape to do this work, or I should say to continue the work, because the work's already been done. So let me just restate that. At Independence House, we're really excited to be here, to be a part of this now. There are so many people before us that have been doing this work. And so we're just, excited to be a part of the formal sort of work that's going to go on and to offer whatever expertise that we can offer. It's work that we've talked about at Independence House for many years, but we always felt like, we need more training. We don't know if we're, fully equipped at this time. So this grant provides the opportunity for us to do some crisis intervention, provide some support to survivors, to even promote more awareness of what human trafficking is all about. So we really want to play a role in that as well, and this funding will help us to do that, and hopefully create a very robust response on the Cape. Not that we're going to create the robust response, but the team that's already been doing the work. As the DA pointed out, law enforcement, Children's Cove, Cape Cod Path, My Life, My Choice. So we're just, we see ourselves as just part of the team in being there to provide resources, education, advocacy, support, and just having, but specifically, we're going to have someone available at the police stations, at the hospital, just to be there when we're needed. And that's what we intend to do. And congratulations again. And that was a wonderful, rousing speech to start off. So thank you all, and I look forward to working together.
Vanessa, you mind coming up? If anyone has any questions about our human trafficking efforts on the Cape, we're here to answer them. Vanessa Madge. Any questions?
Hi, Jeanette Lawrence from WCAI. So someone did mention the perception among some people that this doesn't happen here, and I think other people just don't know a lot about the nature of the problem. So I was hoping that someone could talk a little bit about, in practical terms, how does this really happen in people's lives? What's a common situation here on the Cape? Sex trafficking obviously was mentioned. That's something that is part of it. I'm wondering if people are being trafficked here for other types of labor as well. Just kind of a little bit of a layperson's explanation of the problem.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. So yes, labor trafficking does happen here in Cape Cod and definitely needs more awareness on it. And sex trafficking as well. And so it's not just one situation that can happen. It can happen to people in a variety of ways. And in regards to sex trafficking, a lot of people might have a misperception that it involves, other countries or people being brought over borders or people being tied up. And that's not how it always is. Trafficking under Massachusetts law, we have a very broad statute, and it doesn't require force, fraud, or coercion. So that's really great, and it gives us a lot of great tools. So that could be, you are profiting off of somebody having a date, is what they call it in the life, right? So you could be arranging for someone to have a date. Oftentimes nowadays it happens online. You could post someone on an online website, offer their sexual services. You could even just be posting that on, receive the money for it, drive them to the hotel, drive them to the other location, and all of that comes under sex trafficking, and you can be held accountable for all of that. So how is it happening? It's really happening online where people are posting that way, and they're meeting at hotels, or they might be meeting in a car, or they might be going to someone's house. And so it's kind of happening to a variety of people, very young. And basically traffickers look to expose people's vulnerabilities, as I've heard other people in the field say, especially Detective Parachi. And so it could be somebody who needs, maybe like in another location where I worked, a young girl as young as 14 years old. She came from a normal life that was stable. And she ended up getting into trafficking because she wanted a cell phone. And her parents wouldn't buy her a cell phone because they didn't want to expose her to, a variety of things. Well, she wanted a cell phone. And so there was a trafficker out there that exploited that. And so, that's how she did. Oftentimes, and other people better experience can speak of this, individuals could be looking for love or could be looking for a narcotic that they're dependent on. And so a trafficker will come out and exploit that. So there's a variety of ways. And in regards to labor trafficking, that is something that definitely needs more awareness here on Cape Cod. There are a number of individuals who come work seasonally, who come from other countries, who may or may not know all of their rights. And so that's definitely an area that needs more awareness, and I think is particular to Cape Cod with all the seasonal work. So does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Sam with the Emmy Times. Is there any perspective on what it's like on Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket? I mean, is the Cape kind of the focus of this, or what do you see on the islands?
Sure. So awareness definitely needs to happen on the islands as well, and the funds that we received are going to expand services and awareness and training to the Cape and the islands, not just the Cape. The District Attorney's Office serves all of those areas. I can say that from being in this office just since September, there are human trafficking concerns and suspected investigations happening there, which obviously I can't talk about in detail, but it's definitely happening there as well. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the intersection of the trafficking with the young people that are looking for a narcotic or a drug, and the extent of the problem that you've seen either on the Cape or the islands?
Yeah, I mean, it's as I was saying earlier, it's traffickers look for a vulnerability. And so if whether it's a narcotic or looking for validation or a relationship, traffickers can exploit that. And there is obviously a narcotic problem here on the Cape and the Islands. And so, yeah, the intersection of that leaves open, a lot of possibilities for our young people to be trafficked. There's also, in the audience here, there's also Children's Cove, Alex Foley. She has a lot of experience in answering this as well. So maybe afterwards, if anyone wanted some information, they could speak with Alex about the work where she works specifically with individuals under 18 who have been trafficked. The Children's Cove does great work here. You're welcome. Yes.
Ryan Bright, Cape Cod Chronicle. When you mention awareness, can you talk about the importance of educating the broader public about the problem? It's been mentioned or alluded to a few times that most people don't think of it as something that exists here. So in addition to providing services, does any of the grant funding cover any sort of broader educational initiative to just let people in general know that this is happening and what they might be on the lookout for?
Absolutely, and that's a really exciting part of our grant. So we sought and received funds to do trainings for the community. And specifically, we hope to do a training for the hospitality industry. And so that includes hotels, transportation, and that sort of thing. So that way they can recognize, is it happening here, and know what to do in response. We also want to, for the medical community, not just the hospitals, but primary care, urgent care centers, because that's an opportunity where survivors might come in looking for help for just something small, but that's an intersection that could open up the door. So we have training funds specifically for the medical community, also for EMS, paramedics. And then the last is in collaboration with efforts that have already been existing that Chief McDonald could speak on or answer any questions later on, is for law enforcement to make sure that all the departments in the Cape and the Islands have been trained on awareness on what to look for and the best investigative techniques. So yes, absolutely, it's a huge thing, not just for people who are already doing the work, but for the larger community to know it is happening here. What does it look like? And is there an opportunity to intervene or to do something about that? And on that note, I want to say is the DA's office has created a hotline. It's a confidential 24/7 hotline where individuals can text or call with information on suspected human trafficking. We're also going to be distributing QR codes on magnets to the community so that perhaps if that's easier for an individual to report. And in the pamphlets that we have here in the folders, that phone number is included. So if you want to grab that before you leave. All right. Yes.
Thank you. To follow up on what you just said in your question, I'm on the Public Safety Committee in Boston, and we just heard a bill last week on requiring the training of all this that's going on that people don't realize, especially in the hotel industry. Mm-hmm. It happens on Cape Cod in hotel rooms. The Yarmouth police, the police officers deal with it. I love this district attorney. You're bringing everyone together.
Thank you.
To back this. But shout out for that bill. I think it's H2416. It was just heard last week. And this is the week where a lot of the bills are either going to go forward or not. Mm-hmm. So if you could reach out to the chair of the Public Safety Committee, I think training people, all people, neighbors, everybody, real estate, but especially the hotel industry would be very, very powerful to not only identify these people that are doing it, but save these survivors. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. You're right. I do want to recognize some other people as I look around the room. Members of the Barnstable County government, thank you so much for showing up today. Chief Laurie has joined us in the back from Falmouth Police, and we have representatives from Duffy and Peer Recovery. So thank you again, everyone, for coming. In these packets that we have up here up front and in the back, does have some information from the grants that we received, some particulars, if you want to take it to review, as well as that hotline that Vanessa just mentioned. So again, if there's anything else, thank you all for coming.